Are we on? Are we on? Yeah, we're on. We're on. Okay, right. Hello, everyone. Unfortunately, I completely forgot to set this round on StreamYard, and I didn't have time to reset it and all that. But it is what it is. I'm going to be back on StreamYard later on for 3:00 for my round 3 season review. But as you all know, to anyone that did tune in last night for the opening round, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it. Today, we move this morning, as I should say, because there's 2 more streams coming up later on. This is round 2. This is round 2 of my season review of League One 22-23, because of course this is the league that Plymouth Argyle have been in this season. So I'm basically, obviously, going through every single game as it is between now and somewhere in July for 46 episodes of this. I did the very first episode yesterday, which unfortunately I was a little delayed and all that because I had technical difficulties and all that. Most annoying feeling in the world. But today, at this morning, I have gone completely bang on it straight away. So I may as well crack on with it now. But yeah, as you all saw yesterday, I did the opening round of the season. Of course, we beat Barnsley 1-0. And then there were other massive results in there, like the 3-3 between Sheffield Wednesday and Portsmouth, Ipswich and Bolton 1-1, Derby Oxford 1-0 Derby. And then the rest were Bristol Rovers 1, Forest Green 2, Lincoln 1, Exeter 1, Cheltenham 2, Peterborough 3, Wycombe 3, Burton 0, Accrington Stanley 2, Charlton 2, Morecambe 0, Shrewsbury 0, Cambridge 1, MK Dons 0, and Port Vale 2, Fleetwood 1. And of course, Wycombe ended the opening round of the season top of the league with Peterborough in that automatic spot with them. We were 7th after the first round of the season. And then you got Barnsley, MK Dons, Oxford and Burton all in that bottom 4. Burton already having that dreadful start from the opening round when they got hammered by Wycombe. And then you had the likes of Ipswich mid-table in 15th, Bolton 12th, Charlton 11th, Pompey 8th, Sheffield Wednesday 9th, etc. and etc. If you want to re-look at the table from the opening round of the season, I did mention it last night anyway, in my opening round stream. So feel free to have a look at that and all that. But as for now, I am going to move on to what is the second round of League One this season. We played Fleetwood away in this round. We get to that match later on in this stream, and there won't be a reaction from one of my episodes or vlogs for this one because I didn't go to Fleetwood away this season. I didn't have the time, but also I was at MotoGP watching the Grand Prix at Silverstone, so I knew I couldn't go to Fleetwood away anyway. But I'll tell you what, it was the best decision ever for that weekend. And I'll tell you why later on when we get to it. But first, I'm going to go on to a big clash, a big League One clash that happened at the Vale, the home of Charlton Athletic, back on the 7th of August. It's Derby's first away day of the season. And as you know, I can't share my screen of the highlights of each match itself because I know I'll get copyrighted. So I've got it on another tab of mine on my laptop that I'm looking at right now. But yeah, this is the first match I'm going to look at. It's Charlton hosting Derby at the Vale in what is a big test for the Rams, I should say. It was very interesting for sure. One of the bigger clashes of League One this season. Derby's first away day of the season. And I'll tell you what, they found it tough. And as I saw there, just so many chances wasted already as Derby looked to take another corner. Completely pushed out by Charlton's keeper, Wallacott, at the time. The amount Derby brought, as I saw there at the Valley, was mind-blowing, like fair play to them. But then again, Derby's a massive club, so you'd expect it from the Rams. You would expect it from them. But here comes Charlton on the attack. And they header it. But Derby keep it out. Wildsmith with the save. Wildsmith with the save. This was a tough one for Derby because they did play well in this game. I thought they really did play well in this game, and I thought it could have been. And there you go. There's the winner from Charlton. Wildsmith did punch that ball out actually, but then the Addicts just took advantage of his misfortunes, and there you have it. The South London club take the lead, and then here's Derby trying to find the equaliser, just missing wide, and in the bottom left corner. And at the end, Charlton held on to claim their first 3 points of the season. And Derby's first season back in League One in a long while, in only their second game of League One this season, ends in a defeat. And that just shows, you know what that shows though? That just shows no matter how many wins you can get in the Championship, have a points deduction and nearly on the verge of staying up, but didn't at the end because of the points deduction for Derby in the Championship last season. Even with all that and without the points deduction, Derby would have stayed up. However, that doesn't change the fact that if you're in a new league, if you get relegated to League One, you still get hard results like this. And Charlton's just proved that. Charlton's first win of the season, Derby's first defeat of the season, which means that puts Charlton onto 4 points because, of course, they got a draw against Accrington Stanley away. Derby beat Oxford 1-0 at Pride Park on their opening game. So Derby do stay on 3 points after 2 rounds of the season. Now, what did I predict for this? Oh, I said a Derby win. I said Derby to win this game. I said a 2-1 Derby win in my predictions. So that completely goes out the window. So yeah, no, it's a very good win for Charlton at the end. And they did hold on. They did hold on because Derby had so many chances and they completely wasted every single one of them. Oh, Kyle's in the chat. Let's go. Sunderland fan. Of course, we're going to be playing Sunderland next season. Kyle's going to be on our channels next season for when we do the previews and reviews for when we play Sunderland next season. I'm really excited for it. I plan to go to the Stadium of Light next season as well. It's a ground I've never been to, so I'm really excited for it. But regardless, going back to this match, well, Albie Morgan got given man of the match. He's left. I think he's leaving Charlton as well, which I think is a bit of a blow because I think he's a really underrated player, to be honest. I really do. And he played all right when they played us. When they played us, whatchamacallit? Yeah, when they played us at the Vale, not at home park. We outclassed Charlton at home park. But yeah, Charlton even won with Dobson on the bench. So that tells you that's an important victory as well. But he did come on in the 31st minute anyway. McGrandles came off, substituted. But Derby had Craig Forsyth on the bench, Lewis Dobbin on the bench. They all came on at the end in the second half. But Derby did waste a lot of big chances and total shots. 15 shots and 4 big chances. But Charlton weren't far off anyway. 13 total shots, 2 big chances. Derby had more of the possession and the more accurate passes as well. So that's really frustrating for them. So that just shows that was a vital win for the South London club. And that's Charlton's first win of the season. So yeah, fair play to them, fair play to them. So that's Charlton's first 3 points in a big League One clash. Derby losing at the Vale. The Valley's actually a bogey side for a lot of big clubs, as you'll see later on in my review of the season with streams to come. We lost there. Pompey lost there. Sheffield Wednesday did win there, to be fair to them, so they did well. Bolton did win there, but us and Pompey struggled there. Barnsley struggled there. Ipswich got a 4-4 draw there in what I believe was the game of the season. We'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to round 17. It was a big clash that was as well, and a big game as well in general that was. But we'll get to that. My predictions was a stinker though, because I did have Derby to win 2-1, and that did not happen, which means we move on to the next game that I've got in my so-called match of the day League One roundup lineup. We're going to move on to we're going to move on to the game at the Uni Bowl, Bolton against Wycombe. And what's Terry put here? 100%, 100%, 100%. Yeah, 100%. I say that a lot. I do say that a lot, and it's not surprising because that's just part of who I am. There's a lot of words I say like 100%, fair enough, and makes sense. It just comes out all the time, especially when I'm trying to make a point. But I guess it makes me, doesn't it? But yeah, moving on. Bolton versus Wycombe at the Uni Bowl, and this ended up being a pure masterclass for Ian Everett's boys. And I'll tell you what, it is a masterclass from them as well, considering, and also a very good win for them in general anyway at home, because, I mean, I'm sorry, Wycombe should have done better than that, defending that. But I'll tell you what, Bolton got a point at Portman Road, Ipswich, on the opening day of the season. So you would have expected them to make a statement after that, and they did. But Wycombe were top of the league after the first round of the season. I know that's very early days, of course. Very, very early days. But then they just completely collapsed in this game here. How can you go from winning 3-0 to then losing 3-0? Like, mad. But to be fair, this was always going to be a tough game anyway. I mean, what a finish that was from Aaron Morley to make it 2-0 to the Trotters. This was always going to be a tough game anyway, and a test for both teams. Wycombe getting the playoffs last season, finishing 6th. They lost that playoff final to Sunderland, who got promoted to the Championship this season. Bolton finished 9th last season and were looking to basically do better this season, which they did, of course. So this was always going to be a tough match. And yeah, Bolton just completely tore Wycombe apart in this game, in what I felt was another massive clash, especially at the start of the season, of course, because I looked at the fixtures way back in August while I was at Silverstone watching the MotoGP and just saw this was a huge clash for who could get promoted or be in the playoffs. And Bolton ended up 3-0 winners. An absolute masterclass from Ian Everett and Gareth Ainsworth, leaving the Uni Bowl having a lot of work to do. Kyle Dempsey got 2 of those goals. Aaron Morley got the other. But yeah, look, I'm just looking at FOTMob now. Yeah, Bolton absolutely dominated Wycombe. Even Mehmeti had a poor game. So what does that tell you? And he got substituted in the second half. So yeah, no, Wycombe were really poor at the Uni Bowl this season. A brilliant win from Bolton. More total goals. They did both draw level on big chances, though. Both of them had 1 apiece on big chances. But no, overall, looking back at all over Wycombe, in my opinion. And it was a great win for Bolton as well, considering their record is appalling lately, because Wycombe's won the last 5 times, apart from this. Again, this is relief for Ian Everett's side. And yeah, that's a big 3 points for Bolton. Same as Charlton Derby. Bolton like Derby. No, not like Derby. Sorry. Bolton like Charlton had a draw in the opening game and then winning their second game. 4 points. Wycombe, same as Derby, won their first game, no problem. Even though Derby a tough one against Oxford in their opening day. And then getting absolutely torn apart here. So Ainsworth's side got a lot of work to do. But yeah, that is Bolton making a statement into what they felt they could do this season, for sure. So, no, fair play to them. That was a big win for Ian Everett's side. How did I do in my predictions for this? Okay, I said... Oh, God, I got it completely wrong. I said a 1-1 draw. I thought it was going to be a really tight game. These are 2 on paper at the start of the season, 2 on paper sides that you just felt or knew you were going to be near the top at least. And I expected, after the way they tore Burton apart, Wycombe to get a point at Bolton, and they didn't. Bolton tore them apart at the end. So, yeah, again, fair play to them. Fair play to them. And I got that prediction completely wrong. which moves us on to the next game. Just going to check the comments here. Terry Alford, I hate Bolton more than any other EFL team. Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny. That's how I feel with some teams in this world, like Exeter, obviously. Oh, yeah. Well, moving on to the next game that I've got in my lineup here. I call this jokingly the Michael Duff Derby because Cheltenham made the visits to Oakwell in their second game of the season. Of course, Michael Duff managed Cheltenham last season and then moved to Barnsley this season. Barnsley, of course, played us on opening day at Home Park. We won 1-0, Finnazaz Masterclass. So Barnsley were looking to bounce back immediately after that. And they knew they needed a big opportunity because they were facing Cheltenham at home. Cheltenham lost narrowly at home to Peterborough on their opening day. But it doesn't get any easier for Wade Elliott's side with a trip to Barnsley. So I'm going to see how this pans out. Cheltenham throw. They were close there as well. Of course, this was back when Collins was Barnsley's keeper. Bradley Collins, not Harry Isted, who's obviously been unbelievable for Barnsley when he's been there this season. And then Cheltenham, of course, had Southwood in goal, who has pretty much been Cheltenham's keeper throughout the entire season. This was back when Ndlundulu was at Cheltenham as well, before he made his move to Bolton in that January transfer window. Barnsley with the ball here. Narrowly missing. That's just gone wide. Cheltenham holding on. I'll tell you what, Cheltenham did well to hold on in this game. It just wasn't to be. It just wasn't to be. They did everything they could to hold on and get at least a point at Oakwell, which would have been an unbelievable result for Wade Elliott's side anyway. I expected this to be a hard game as well, considering Michael Duff's side. Michael Duff was facing against his former club. I know Barnsley had the home advantage, but I did expect Cheltenham to give them a game, and they did, to be fair. But Barnsley found the winner at the end through Mads Anderson, who I think personally has been... Actually, no, sorry, that was offside. Of course it was. That was offside. So they could have won 2-0, but they didn't at the end. But Mads Anderson, speaking about him, well, I mean, he's been unbelievable this season anyway. He's been my Barnsley player of the season, personally. He's in my team of the season as well, with Liam Palmer at the back. He's been an unbelievable player, and he served Barnsley really well as well. And there's the goal. There's the goal. Top left Bings, top Bings, top left from Luke Thomas. So that pretty much wraps the points for Michael Duff's side, and that is Barnsley's first win of the season. Cheltenham losing for a second time in a row. Of course, they were 2-0 up against Peterborough in their opening game at home, and then they completely blew it. And then here, they tried to hold on, tried to get a point. It just wasn't to be at the end, and Barnsley claimed their first win of the season, thanks to Luke Thomas. Barnsley did have the more possession, the more expected goals, the more total shots. They both had 2 big chances. And they were both missed big chances as well. Barnsley the better side on accurate passes as well. So overall, Barnsley did get probably what they felt was a deserved 3 points. And Cheltenham are still looking to find a win against the Tykes. And it didn't quite go to plan there, did it? So Wade Elliott's side are looking for their first win of the season still. How did I do in my predictions here? Well, that was appalling. I said a 2-2 draw. It's because I expected Cheltenham to give them a game because it was against their former manager. But Barnsley proved that it was no problem for them. They won 1-0. So that's another prediction wrong for me. But it is what it is. So no, fair play from Barnsley. That was a good win from them. Which moves us on to my fourth game in this League One season review lineup from round 2. In a match that I dub the University Derby. I'm just going to look at the comments section, really. There's nothing at the moment. I'm going to move on to the match that at the Kassam, that I felt was, in my honest opinion, I jokingly call the University Derby. Oxford hosting Cambridge at the Kassam for their second game of the season. Cambridge looking to build from their superb win over MK Dons at home on their opening game, beating them 1-0. Oxford narrowly lost to Derby at Pride Park on their opening game. So can they bounce back? They didn't. Obviously, they didn't. Well, sorry, Cambridge couldn't. Cambridge could not build from their magnificent MK Dons win at the end. Tell you what, that nearly went in then, but Dunk missed it. It's another tight 1-0 win, isn't it? So it's very interesting to see. And I'll tell you what, Eastwood did well to keep that out because Cambridge have got a lot of shots in at the moment. And now it's Oxford's ball. Is that a penalty? Did they give that? No, they didn't. I thought that was a penalty call for a minute then. Oxford's number 11 went down. Marcus Brown went down in that penalty area, colliding with Cambridge's number 6, Lloyd Jones. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's 50-50, but Oxford felt they needed a penalty for that. But they didn't get it. They did not get it in the end. Well, I've seen over a minute of this highlights, and just no one looks like they want to score. It's just complete missed chances everywhere. Now here's Oxford's corner. What a save. What a save. What a save by Mitov to keep that out. Another corner for Oxford. In YouTube terms, this is Jack Ward versus Alfie Addison at the Kassam. And there's the winner. There's the winner. Oxford, the ones that prevailed at the end. It was the substitutes that did it. Tyler Goodram came on in the 86th minute and then scored at stoppage time. A stoppage time winner from what was Carl Robinson's side back then. But Oxford had the more possession, the more expected goals, the more total shots. They're both level on big chances and big chances missed again. Another one of those games. They were better with accurate passes as well. But it's the subs that win it. And that is Oxford's first win of the season. Cambridge's first defeat of the season. That moves Oxford on to 3 points after their Derby defeat. Cambridge stay on 3 points because they beat MK Dons and then lost that match. Work to do for Mark Bonner's side. But of course, this is only round 2 of my season review, so it's still early days. It's still very, very early days indeed. Plus, I'm looking forward to round 45 because you know what's coming there. Anyway, yeah, Carl Robinson's first win of the season. So fair play to them. But it wouldn't last long for that man, wouldn't it? Because, of course, he didn't stay there for the rest of the season, given what happens to Oxford for the rest of the season. How did I do my predictions for this? Oh, well, I said Oxford to win, so I'll take that. I said a 2-0 Oxford win. So I didn't get the score right, but I said Oxford would win this match. So, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. So, fair play. Right. Moving on then. I'm watching your live stream in English. Fair play. Good afternoon, Jan. I hope you're well. Sorry, morning, lol. Cambridge beat Oxford by 2 lengths. I mean, yeah, the Cambridge beat Oxford at the Abbey Stadium. That's later on in the review. But this was at the Kassam, which Oxford won 1-0. Oxford's first win of the season. Cambridge's first defeat of the season. But yeah, of course. Early days, of course. But no, fair play, Dylan. Fair play. Right. We move on to Fratton Park for Pompey's first game of the season in what I call and dub another League One YouTube clash. 4-0 written all over it versus Jake from the Stacey West. Pompey Lincoln at Fratton Park. So Lincoln are the first visitors to Fratton Park this season, and my YouTube is now just completely going all over the place for some bizarre reason. So yeah, we move on to Portsmouth versus Lincoln. A goalless 0-0 draw. So Pompey start the season with 2 draws on the bounce. Well, draws actually sum up most of their season anyway. However, it's still a bright start for them considering what's coming for the Hampshire club in the next few games. Because, as we all know, Danny Cowley's side had a magnificent start to the season, and he got manager of the month as well for August, which is mental. And then he wasn't there by January after losing to Charlton at home. But again, why am I not surprised about this result? Because it's Lincoln. Lincoln are one of those sides that do so well against the so-called toppish teams, and then against either teams around Lincoln in the table or against the bottom sides, Lincoln struggle. That's something they need to work on next season if they want to basically push for playoffs next season. I can see Lincoln as dark horses next season. Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. Mark Kennedy's a very underrated manager, in my opinion. There's Rico Hackett-Fairchild for Pompey, missing out on that big chance there. We took that chance against us, didn't he? Rico always scores against us. But looking back at this game at Fratton Park, I'm not surprised it's a 0-0 draw because Lincoln do so well against the big sides. They outclassed us at home park. That was our worst performance of the season, in my opinion. And then we only got a point at their ground. Ipswich got a point at their ground. They beat Ipswich at Portman Road. They beat Derby at home. They drew with Pompey both times. They drew with Bolton both times. No, sorry, they drew with Bolton once. Bolton did actually get a win against them this season. But yeah, no, that's a cracking point for Lincoln. Looking back, that's a typical 0-0. Looking back at that game, that is a typical 0-0 because half of Lincoln's players had a great game, like Rushworth, their keeper, for example. And then some of Pompey's players had a great game, like Marlon Pack, Sean Raggett, Josh Griffiths, who was their keeper back then, even though he ended up being terrible, in my honest opinion, for the South Coast side this season. Replaced by Matt Macy halfway through the season as well. Pompey had the more chances, though, the more shots, the more expected goals. So no wonder Rushworth got given man of the match. So, yeah, Lincoln stayed in there at the end. But it's another one of those typical 0-0s. Pompey actually have a good record against Lincoln, so they probably might feel disappointed looking back. I mean, they did miss out on playoffs at the end. But no, Lincoln do so well against the so-called top sides, and that in the second game of the season is basically another example on how well they can do against the top sides. And I got this prediction completely wrong because I thought after their magnificent 3-3 with Sheffield Wednesday in their first game of the season, I thought Pompey were going to win this game. I had a 3-1 Pompey win, and that did not happen. So no, fair play to Lincoln. That's a great draw from Mark Kennedy's side, which means Lincoln, they're both on 2 points after 2 games of the season. Both of them getting draws in their opening 2 games. Lincoln got a draw against Exeter in their first game of the season. Pompey, obviously, at Hillsborough. It's mental that you can get a 3-3 draw on the opening day. I still call that 3-3 one of the games of the season. Personally, it was just so eye-catching to watch. Well, when I watched it after I watched us beat Barnsley 1-0, of course. But yeah, Pompey would have felt disappointed looking back at that game, though, after getting that 3-3 draw at Hillsborough. But no, it wasn't to be. Lincoln do so well against the top sides. That game there was another example. So I'm now going to move on to my next game that I've got in my League One roundup lineup for this match. Oh, it's we go to the new lawn. We go to the new lawn. And why are we not surprised that Forest Green's first visitors at the new lawn this season was Ipswich? Of course, Forest Green's first visitors were such a big side in the division. There isn't any short highlights of this. So I'm going to have to watch Ipswich's 5-minute video for this game, basically. So yeah. But we are now at the halfway stage of this stream. But yeah, no, Forest Green hosting Ipswich. Ipswich, their first visitors of the season. I can't lie. I know Ipswich won this game, and that's a great win for them, obviously, considering they're building from that draw they had against Bolton on opening day, even though they were at home, of course. But it's Ipswich basically building up on that draw to finally get 3 points. And obviously, Ipswich were the last club to lose this season because their first defeat of the season was against, I wonder who, up the Greens. Anyway, yeah, their first defeat of the season was against us, which is still my favourite home game of the entire season because it was just mind-blowing and amazing. So they did really well to stay unbeaten for the first 10 games. Well, 9 games, but considering Ipswich-Cambridge is in game week 8 of the season, even though they played it in the 12th, they played it 12th, I'm still going to count that because, of course, and Ipswich won that 3-0. Forest Green had a big chance there, and they completely wasted it. I'll tell you what, looking back at this game, I know Ipswich were the much better team from start to finish in this game, looking back. FGR weren't that bad. I know they were outclassed, which is shocking, but considering, first of all, considering other Forest Green games, and second of all, considering FGR's season, this wasn't their worst performance, in my opinion. It's not like getting battered 5-0 by Sheffield Wednesday, is it? And that is Ipswich taking the lead there immediately through Marcus Harness, who, of course, Ipswich signed from Portsmouth. He's a weird one, actually, because looking back, I thought Ipswich made a great signing in the summer, and he was one of Pompey's best players last season as well, and he's a big servant for Pompey as well, so I thought it was a big loss for them. But first half of the season for Ipswich, I thought he was magnificent. But the minute Ipswich brought in George Hurst and Nathan Broadhead, Harness, in my honest opinion, has not been exactly the same player. Because Ipswich's January, I'm sorry, was absolutely magnificent. They easily had the best January transfer window. Definitely had a better transfer window over us. But obviously we had the better season because we won the league. But still, either way, they've been magnificent, and I know that anyway. like later on in this series, of course, we're going to see them tear Barnsley apart, tear Bolton apart, tear Derby apart, all away as well. And they ended the season with 4 defeats, of course, which is amazing. But, of course, I think a lot of people expected Ipswich to win this game anyway, and they did. Sam Morsey got given man of the match by FOTMob. Harness opens the lead for the Tractor Boys. And we've got these two clubs in a few streams to come. We've got Forest Green tomorrow. Tomorrow morning at 11 is round 5. We face Forest Green away. And then Ipswich is a few days later because that's match week 11 when we beat them at home park. And that was the day we went top of the league. I'll tell you what a goal that is. Fair play to FGR taking advantage. Oh my God. Do you see that? Their players having a freaking punch-up with Ipswich's keeper, Christian Walton. Look at it. FGR scored that goal. And then Walton is just... Walton and the FGR players are squaring up to each other and getting the ball and etc. Jesus Christ. This is an unpopular opinion, but Forest Green, in my honest opinion, weren't actually that bad at the start of the season. They beat Bristol Rovers away on the first game of the season. And now I know in their 4th game, I know it got postponed, but it still counts as match week 4 anyway. They played Accrington Stanley at home. They won that. I know they had some disastrous games around the start anyway, like when we beat them 3-0. But I thought they were much better at the beginning than they were, obviously, towards the later on part of the season when they were just literally anyone can beat them, apart from Sheffield Wednesday. That still remains one of my favourite games of the season because that did us a big favour in the promotion title race. But looking before the start of the season anyway, they didn't do themselves any favours anyway. They came up as league champions. But then Rob Edwards departed for Watford. Now he's just brought Luton up to the Premier League. Again, a wonderful story for that club. And then a lot of their players left the club. Nicky Cadden left FGR, for example, to sign for Barnsley. Big loss for them. But no, that was a hard-fought Ipswich win at the end, despite the fact, well, when I say hard-fought, they dominated it. But in terms of the scoreline, it was hard-fought because it was a 2-1 away win. And that's Ipswich's first win of the season. And now, this is also, in a way, good news because maybe not good news from an Argyle perspective because they're rivals, especially when I said that to myself at the start of the season as well. But I got this game spot on. I said it would be 2-1 Ipswich, and it was. So, there we go. That is my second prediction. That is my second fixture I got absolutely spot on during the entire season so far. So, I guess we're building. So, yeah, now moving on. We move on to the next game. Oh, I don't really want to move on to this next game anyway because it's the freaking scum. Exeter Port Vale in what turned out to unfortunately be a masterclass from the annoying neighbours 40 miles up the road. Going to have a look at it now. There is this common theme as well where when we're away, Exeter at home. And then when Exeter are away, we're at home. But why are we not surprised? So, yeah, this is Exeter's first home game of the season. Port Vale at home. And this just proved to be this just ended up being an absolute thrashing. The scum absolutely outclassed them. Absolutely outclassed them. I mean, 4-0. And that's Vale. Yeah, no, I'm all right, Liam. I'm all good. Vale were basically hopeless in this game. Exeter absolutely tore them apart, which pains me to say because I obviously can't stand them, being an Argyle fan. But you got to say it as it is. Port Vale, I remember this game as well. Port Vale were absolutely shocking. And it's disappointing from them because they beat Fleetwood at home on their opening day of the season, which was a great result for being newly promoted as well. but they couldn't capitalise on that brilliant home win on opening day because they'd been absolutely torn apart by what was Matt Taylor's side back then, before Matt Taylor went to Rotherham, of course. Yeah, penalty here for Exeter, which is going to be converted by none other than Giovanni Brown, who went bottom left corner. 2-0. 2-0 already. And I've only reached the halfway stage of this highlights video that I'm watching in the background. Now, what a pass that is. 3-0. To put it bluntly, they like I've said already, they tore Port Vale apart in this game. And this was their biggest win of the season for a long while until their 5-0 over Accrington Stanley. And then Nombe just wrapping it up. As Matt Taylor's side, in that game especially, enjoyed life back in League One. And you know what's interesting? Out of the 4 clubs being promoted, out of the 4 clubs that got promoted, they have actually been the best, annoyingly. Because Exeter finished the season in 14th. Bristol Rovers finished 17th, which still surprises me to this day because I really thought they'd finish higher. Port Vale 18th, and then Forest Green got relegated. They by far had the worst out of the 4 clubs that got promoted. I'm just looking back at FOTMob of this. Giovanni Brown got man of the match. And of course, Kite got a goal. Nombe got a goal. Look at those ratings from FOTMob. Only one Port Vale player had a high rating. Connor Hall, who went to Colchester at the end, of course. But can this fly? Fuck off. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, and then I look at Exeter's ratings. The only one that did not have a good game was their right wing back, Josh Key. Right mid, sorry. But everyone else was absolutely unbelievable that day. And it just wrapped up a perfect afternoon for the club 40 miles up the road. And looking back at the stats, I mean, look at that. It's all Exeter. It is all Exeter. So yeah, they tore Port Vale apart. What did I have in my predictions for this game? I said I did actually back an Exeter win. I just didn't see Port Vale winning this game at all. Yeah, I had 2-1 Exeter, but I thought Vale would give it a game slightly after their win against Fleetwood. But I backed a scum win regardless because I just didn't see Vale winning this game at all. And I thought Exeter would be one of those sides where they got that point at Lincoln on their opening day. And I thought they'd build on that, and they did. So there we go. So that puts Exeter on 4 points after 2 games. Port Vale on 3 points because, of course, they beat Fleetwood on opening day. Which now moves us on to the 8th game of this roundup of round 2. Which is, now, if you said this last season, this is not just a playoff battle, but a promotion battle as well. This season, as it turns out, completely one-sided. But it was a tighter game than what people expected. Just look at the comment section briefly. Yeah, we all do, Terry. We all do. MK Don Sheffield Wednesday is the next game I'm reacting to at Stadium MK. Like I said, if you said this time last season, this would have been a playoff battle or promotion battle. Now it's completely one-sided after how this season ended, of course. MK's first home game of the season this is as well. And from their point of view, they would have wanted to bounce back after that Cambridge defeat. Wednesday looking for a penalty there. Did they get it? Yeah, they did. I'm going to look back at this. One of the MK players bringing Josh Windass down, clattering into Windass. Yeah, that is a penalty. That is a penalty. Looking back, that is a penalty. So, here's Bannon arguing with the ref. Bloody flies, I hate them. Yeah, Windass scoring. There we go. No problem for Wednesday. 1-0. Wednesday, another one of these sides in the early days where they're taking advantage of them not winning their opening game because they drew 3-3 with Portsmouth on their opening game, of course. MK Dons lost to Cambridge on opening day away. So they would have wanted to bounce back, but they simply didn't. Interestingly enough, it was that penalty from Windass that basically decided the game. So without that penalty, this might have looked different for Darren Moore's side coming into the rest of the season. Because Wednesday did finish third at the end, of course. Stockdale keeping hold of the ball there. It's interesting because Stockdale was Wednesday's keeper for the majority of the first half of the season, and then came Cameron Dawson, and he just proved to be a completely different level. Yeah, Wednesday the better side. Stockdale was actually given man of the match for that game by FOTMob. But look, MK had way more possessions. So this was actually way more possessions, 67% compared to Wednesday's 33. 16, although Wednesday had the more shots, 16 total shots, 2 big chances, 1.51 expected goals. But it was that penalty that decided the game. It was that penalty that decided the game. And Wednesday secure their first win of the season. MK still on nil points, 0 points after 2 games. And which means that their side had a lot of work to do, to put it bluntly that way. How did I do in my predictions for this game? If I had a draw for this, I'm not going to be happy. Oh, no, I did say a Wednesday win. Thank God. I said 4-1 Wednesday in my predictions, so I'll take that. It ended 1-0 to Darren Moore's side. So there we go. So, right, we move on. We move on to the next game I've got in this League One roundup of round 2. See if I got any comment sections. Yeah, no, very true, Terry. Very true. Peterborough, Morecambe. Peterborough's first home game of the season. In what, even before the match, looked like a one-sided affair. Have a look at it now. Now, I'll put it here now. Oh, what a finish that was. Bottom right. Bottom right there from Joe Ward. I personally think he's actually been one of the more underrated players of League One this season. He's very underrated in my opinion. He's a very good player. If Peterborough keep hold of him for next season, then he could be one to watch in League One next season. It's going to be interesting how they do without Clark Harris because he's been put up for sale by the Posh. Tell you what a save that was from Connor Ripley, who in my opinion has been Morecambe's best player this season, despite Morecambe losing this game 3-0. Clark Harris free kick, saved by Ripley. But Peterborough found the net anyway, 2-0. Converted by Thompson, who even got given man of the match by FOTMob in this game, Ben Thompson. 2-0 Posh. Now, I will say this now. I got this game spot on. I said before the match this would be a 3-0 Peterborough win. And it was at the end. So, fair play to them. Peterborough, 6 points already after 2 games. Which means if I'm correct, and I'll look at the table at the end of this stream, after 2 games, Peterborough ended this game top of the league. And then that's 3-0. That's 3-0. Cipriano wrapping up the day for what was Grant McCann's side back then. Because, of course, McCann wasn't at Peterborough for the entire season. 3-0 Peterborough. Cipriano wrapping up the points. And Morecambe just had no answer at all in this game. That was a terrible shot there at the end as well from Morecambe. But, yeah. 2 games, 6 points. A good start to the season. Good first 2 games for Peterborough. That'll all change later on because I wonder who Peterborough face in their 3rd game of the season. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one because we outclassed Peterborough at home. Anyway, they were both bang average on possession though, but Posh, the more expected goals, the more total shots, the more accurate passes. Morecambe had more big chances though, but Peterborough winning this game, absolutely no problem at all. So there you go. And I've already said that I got this prediction spot on. I said it'd be 3-0, and it was 3-0. So there we go. We're moving on to the next game immediately. Oh, God. I don't want to watch this. But it's going to have to be done. I'm just going to put it out there now that I'm so glad we're not playing them next season. You know who we face in our 2nd game of the season? Fleetwood away. Oh, God. Oh, dearie me. Now, I didn't go to this game. I couldn't. I've already said I went to Silverstone to watch the MotoGP that weekend. So I knew I couldn't do any EFL games that week anyway, or Argyle games that weekend anyway. But if I was there, I would have walked out of Fleetwood's just absolutely. I just would have been pissed the whole day, the whole night. So there we go. And you know what's worst about this as well? I'm going to play it now, but you know what's worse about this is that we were in the lead as well in this game. We never beat them. We've won 4 times against them in their record, but the rest of it's 4 draws against them. And then 5 wins for Fleetwood. And of course, in 2021, they beat us 5-1 at their grounds. We did beat them 1-0 at Home Park, to be fair. But that is the last time we beat them. Last season, we drew with them both times. This season, we just couldn't win at all. In fact, I think Fleetwood and Lincoln are the only 2 teams to take points off us throughout the entire season. Because we couldn't beat Lincoln all season either. They've become a bogey side for us as well. But we never beat Fleetwood. Well, more recently. But yeah, this was not a good game for us. And you know what's worse is that we didn't actually play that bad. But we completely bottled the lead. And you know what's interesting was that while I was watching MotoGP qualifying that Saturday, I saw us in the lead. I mean, I'm sorry, that's a penalty. Mumba being brought down there. Ryan Hardy taking the penalty for us. No problem for us there, 1-0 up. But while I was reacting to this, because this weekend was also the weekend of the first Premier League games of the season as well, was when Chelsea beat Everton 1-0, Man City beat West Ham 2-0, Liverpool and Fulham drew 2-2. But anyway, literally, while I was watching qualifying, I saw we were 1-0 up. Then I refreshed my page on my phone 5 minutes later to see how we were doing while the interval was on, and it said 1-1. And then it said on my phone 1-1 for most of the game. And then I switched my phone off while the last part of qualifying was on, because I just didn't want to look at the results just in case if anything would change. See, look at that. That's Fleetwood equalising immediately. Bottom left corner. And then once qualifying finished, and I was going to get myself a burger before going back to my hotel in Northampton that night. And that's us with a wasted chance there. Well, Azaz nearly put it in, but Fleetwood's keeper, Lynch, Jay Lynch, he had no problem at the end. But yeah, I was walking to get my burger. My phone finally refreshed. And then I saw they won it. And I just looked at it going, we hardly beat these lot, do we? And you know what's annoying? I predicted us to win this game 2-1 as well, because I thought because of our impressive home win against Barnsley on opening day and Fleetwood losing to Port Vale, I thought we would edge them. I mean, what is that for defending? Look at this again. This is Fleetwood scoring their second goal. We did not do well here defensively at all. That's Houghton losing the ball. Cooper pulled off a save, but no one's there to clear it. Well, there are people in the box. Gillespie's in the box. Randall's in the box. But no one there could beat Garner in clearing the ball. And Garner scores to win the game for Fleetwood. That just shows how frustrating some of our games can honestly be. I'll tell you what, rival fans would have loved an episode on this because I would have raged like crazy after this. I think the end of my episode would have just ended going, do we hardly ever do well against these guys? Yeah, no, that is such a frustrating result, looking back at that. It's interesting because, unfortunately, I couldn't go to the game. But looking back, however, I did think that, coincidentally, I thought Hardy, Mayer and Randall were our best players on the pitch. But no, that was a terrible game at the end. We didn't play that bad. It's not like the freaking Charlton game that I'm going to be reacting to later on. And I do have an episode of that because I did go to the Valley this season. But no, that looking back at our defeat to Fleetwood there, that is so frustrating. Even our beloved Morgan Whittaker couldn't capitalise on that either. So that just shows how much of a frustrating game that honestly was. We had the more possession, we had the more total shots, we had the more expected goals. Fleetwood had the more big chances. Oh, so frustrating that game is. I'm so glad, and I've said this about 7 times already, I don't know, but I'm just so glad we're not playing them next season because they're just such a hard team to play against. Fleetwood are one of those sides, and this is why they've been in League One for so long. They can stop you. They're one of those teams. Shrewsbury's the same. Lincoln's the same. Well, for the time being, but they're one of those sides that will stop you from going up, and then they'll make you get relegated. They'll try and get you relegated, and that's why they've been in League One for so long. But yeah, I think I've said enough about this game. It was just frustrating as heck. So I am going to move on, as I've just seen Terry's comments. But like I said, it is a review of the season. I've got to go through every game, even the ones we freaking lose and we're awful at. But yeah, no, that is just, I had us to win 2-1 as well. You know what's interesting? I think every single game that we lost this season, I had us to either win or draw. The 3 games I had us to lose all season, we won. That's just the beauty of League One football, isn't it? But we are going to move on. 2 games to go. 2 games to go, and we start with the, we now go on to the Pirelli Stadium. Burton hosting Bristol Rovers. And this game was a Joey Barton masterclass, and it all just sums up on how dreadful Burton were at the start of this season. And I still thought Burton were going to get relegated, even by January, but no, this was a dreadful performance from the Brewers. Bristol Rovers tore them apart. I mean, that's a penalty there already, I swear. Oh, my days. Oh, red card as well. Yeah, denying a goal-scoring opportunity. So that's Burton already. Oh, it's a free kick. It's not a penalty. It's a free kick. Shaughnessy got sent off. Rovers with the free kick. Oh, what a free kick. What a free kick that was from Evans. The Gas taking the lead almost immediately. Fair play to them. Fair play to them. It's actually really weird seeing that Aaron Collins was one of the players of the season, and yet Burton ended the season ahead of Bristol Rovers in the table. That just shows that in the second half of this season, Burton were incredible. But this first half, they were shocking. 2-0 Rovers already. What was my prediction for this game? I said a 1-1 draw. I thought Burton... That's shocking from me, looking back now. Because I thought Burton would get a point at the end for some bizarre reason, and Rovers wouldn't capitalise on their defeat to Forest Green. So Rovers did very well to bounce back here. And there we go. That's the third goal being put in. Converted by Aaron Collins. Interestingly enough, all of Rovers' goals were in the first half of this game. And it's Collins that gets the double here. Oh, that's a brilliant finish. Bottom left. And that basically wrapped up the game for Joey Barton's side at half-time, even before the second half. And the guitar celebration there. Now, fair play to Rovers. Brilliant win this was for them. And Burton were just shocking at the start of the season. They really were. And that's why Dino Manria is one of my managers of the season, because the way he changed that team completely to stay up was mad. Yeah, look at that. More possession, more expected goals, more total shots, more big chances. Yeah, it is a Bristol Rovers domination, that game was. And no wonder. Aaron Collins got man of the match. Why am I not surprised? I don't know how I predicted a 1-1 for that game, because Rovers tore them apart. Which means we move on to the final game of this roundup. Again, in the West Midlands. Shrewsbury hosting Accrington Stanley at home. Now, what did I have in my predictions for this? Oh, I had a 2-2 draw. If this was come end of the season, I would have predicted a home win for Shrewsbury. But obviously, as this was the start of the season, this was completely different. I predicted a 2-2 draw, and this ended up being Accrington Stanley's first win of the season. Look at the amount of chances Shrewsbury have wasted there. I don't know how they're going to do next season without Steve Cotterill, but it depends on who comes in all honesty. Watch them now sign Danny Cowley for next season. And that's Aki with a shot there. Morosi with the save. Now, I think Morosi is one of the most underrated keepers of this season, actually. He was brilliant against us when we went to Shrewsbury. That's probably my favourite away game of the season, because just, like, I prefer that to our Derby win. Because they're both the two best away games of the season. Just the way they both ended was incredible. Shrewsbury would have felt really frustrated from this game. Oh my God. Oh my God. What have I just seen there? What is happening here? Oh. Okay, right. Let me just look back at this. What have I just seen here? That's Morosi. I think that's Morosi. Is that Morosi slapping McConville in the face? No, it's not. It's It was Accrington Stanley's number 16. I don't know why it doesn't show on FotMob. Bear with me a second. It doesn't come up for some reason, but no. Oh, it was Rogers. Yeah, it was their centre-back. Harvey Rogers, Accrington Stanley's centre-back. My apologies. Morosi just slapped him in the face. Did he get sent off for that? How did he not get sent off for that? Although, to be fair, I know that was a slap in the face, but Harvey Rogers, he reacted that stupidly. I'm sorry, that is a stupid reaction. Not Morosi, sorry, but Harvey Rogers is still there, standing up after Morosi slapped him in the face, and then just acts like he's hugely hurt when he's not. So I personally would have booked Harvey Rogers for that, but it's a slap either way for Morosi. So I would have sent Morosi off for that regardless. That's the problem with players these days, is that they'll now pull off stunts like this to try and get the other player sent off, and it's wrong in my opinion. But it was Flanagan that got sent off. Flanagan got sent off for Shrewsbury at the end. Probably for his involvement in this. That's mad. That's absolutely bizarre. Well, it didn't help Shrewsbury's cause one bit anyway, because they did lose this game. So this is just proof. It is for that challenge in the box. That's why he got sent off, and then getting involved in that fight. That's probably why he got sent off. Because look what Flanagan does there. He literally just brings McConville to the ground like that. Oh, excuse me. No wonder he got sent off. Shrewsbury could have been down to 9 men with that incident, but they were only down to 10. Yeah, 2 yellows. Fair enough. Fair enough. And then Aki took advantage of this red card. And that literally just proves that. Header in the box, in. 1-0 Accrington Stanley. Tommy Lee winning the game for John Coleman's side. And there you go. That pretty much wraps it up. That game is basically Accrington Stanley taking advantage of Shrewsbury's misfortunes there. I had this as a 2-2 draw as well, so I was close to a draw for that perspective. But Stanley ended up winners. That's a great away win for them as well, to be fair to them. That is one hard to take for Salop, because they had the more expected goals, the more total shots, the more big chances, and they just blew it themselves with that red card. Stanley had the more possession, but yeah, they took advantage of that. So fair play. Aki's first win of the season after their draw with Charlton at home. Shrewsbury stay on 1 point because they drew with Morecambe away on their opening day, of course. Which basically, guys, wraps up this second stream out of 46. So very interesting there. So unfortunately, I can't share my screen at the moment. So I am going to just read out the table as it is from World Football Net. If it loads up. So Peterborough are now top. Peterborough go to the top of the table. And they are clear top of the table now. Peterborough, after 2 games, the only side to get 2 wins, 0 defeats and 0 draws. You know what's painful about this, though? You know what's painful about this table? The Scum are second after that 4-0 win over Port Vale. But again, it's early days, of course. It's early days, and you all know what happens at the end anyway. Peterborough and Exeter are top 2. Bolton, Sheffield Wednesday, Accrington, Stanley, and Charlton in those playoffs. Ipswich just behind in 7th. Bristol Rovers 8th, Fleetwood 9th, Forest Green 10th, Wycombe 11th, and we're 12th. We're 12th after 2 games. Why am I not surprised? 1-0 win over Barnsley and then a 2-1 defeat to Fleetwood. So we've conceded 2 and scored 2 after 2 games. So I'm not surprised we're mid-table after 2 games. Barnsley 13th. So clawing back from that defeat to us. And then you got Cambridge, Derby, Oxford and Port Vale all on 3 points. Pompey in 18th on 2 points after 2 draws. Lincoln also in the same boat as Pompey there. And then Shrewsbury and Morecambe both on 1 point. Shrewsbury outside of the relegation zone because of their goal difference. Which means Morecambe, Cheltenham, MK Dons and Burton are the bottom 4 after 2 games. Burton clear bottom at the moment. Their goal difference is -7 after 2 games. That just shows that, and with games to come, their start of the season was disastrous. So Peterborough, the new leaders after the second round of the season. Little did they know what was coming in round 3. I can't wait. But yeah, that wraps up that wraps up the stream for that wraps up the stream from this round, sorry. So yeah, cheers for watching, guys. No, Liam, I couldn't because I made that mess up, didn't I, with StreamYard and all that. So it would have been really hard to do and all that, but it is what it is. Anyway, round 3 will be at 3 o'clock, and then round 4 will be at 7 o'clock, and etc. and etc. But yeah, cheers for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Up the Janners, up the Argyle, up the Greens, up the Pilgrims, up the Plymouth. Come on, you boys in green.